So the amount of resources required to pull the lever versus what the end result was, we ended up losing money on it at the end of the day. You can't just look at it in a vacuum and say, hey, we made X margin on these sales. And it was like, by the time we looked at it, we didn't make 60 or 70,000. We had actually lost a ton of money because we took the time of the team that we had to pay that could have been working on something much more fruitful.
Welcome to the Econ Breakthrough Shortcuts. In these 5-minute episodes, we cut straight to the real stories, real numbers, and the real lessons learned from brand builders and entrepreneurs just like yourself. No fluff, just high impact takeaways that you can apply into your business today.
Yeah, we've tried a bunch. So, we did Faire. So Faire with an E.com is small mom and pop shops making small orders. Now, you think about what's required to go on to Faire is like it's a whole new supply chain. And that seems to be the common issue with a lot of the different marketplaces you can go to, is that you have to develop an entire new system. And there's costs associated with that you need to factor in. But Faire would be like a kiosk in a mall that wants to order our toys, and they're like, they want 3 of this one, 5 of that one, and 7 of another one, and 2 of another one, right? And they place a $500 order or a $400 order, right? And it's like, well, what do we have to do to service that when we're used to sending in 500 units or 1,500 units directly into FBA? Well, we need a 3PL. We need a 3PL that's willing to break down in cases, that is willing to go and pick and pull a few units from each of those open cases, and then to fulfill that order for us. And there's a large fulfillment cost for that, right? Like there's the time and the fulfillment for that. So what's our margin on that when we're selling that wholesale now to somebody who still wants to be able to compete at the end price that we have to give Amazon in a competitive marketplace where we have to compete on price, and we're already in a tight margin business in toys, right? So we pulled that lever. We did, a few $100,000 in sales over the course of a year. We were already doing 12, 15 million at the time, maybe, when we decided to pull that lever, and we're like, what are we even doing wasting this time? We took one entire employee, put them full time into this market. We had to take the time of our logistics team to deal with inventory specifically for this. So the amount of resources required to pull the lever versus what the end result was, we ended up losing money on it at the end of the day. You can't just look at it in a vacuum and say, hey, we made X margin on these sales. And it was like, by the time we looked at it, we didn't make 60 or 70,000. We had actually lost a ton of money because we took the time of the team that we had to pay that could have been working on something much more fruitful. So that's one. Another one is like Walmart. We pull Walmart's lever. We hired a channel manager, and to do Walmart correctly, I think that you need to go all in on Walmart to an extent that you need an entire new team. You need a logistics team. You need a marketing team, like someone managing the listings. You need that entire management channel. And then to understand, like, we've got 800 or so SKUs. Which 100 SKUs or 50 SKUs are we going to start with, and then really start to dive into? And so we're doing $1 million on Walmart, but is it the 20 or more that we're doing on Amazon? And what's that worth to us? Can we scale that to 4 or 5 million? I think so. So that's another one that could potentially be there. But can I scale Amazon to 50 million, right? Versus scaling Walmart to 4 or 5 million is the question, right? Because if you're doing 5 million on Amazon, what's Walmart worth to you? At max, it's probably worth 1.5, right? If it's 20% at most of what you're doing on Amazon. So like, how do you justify some of these channels? And then I see like Shopify, Instagram, content. One I really am interested in that we haven't invested in is TikTok, but that's another thing that you've tackled, that you're a lever that you're pulling that I think could be really great. But then we have the whole uncertainty around, is it going to be a channel in 6 months, right? And so we've been burned with the fairs. We did Wish very early on. So we did Wish, we did Faire, we've done Walmart. And at the end of the day, for us, it's always just been more Amazon.com, to the point where we didn't even do Amazon EU. And what's interesting, you and I were just at Market Masters with Kevin King, which is a great event, getting people around hot seats and with experts and really helping people figure out what, how to help your business go to the next level. Really, really recommend something like that. But one of the sellers that I was on the hot seat, that I was like a panel for, is got a product. I don't want to share too much, but has a product in the EU that's a $10 million brand in total, doing 9 million in the EU across all the marketplaces in EU, and only doing 1 million in the US, struggling in the US, but owns 50% of the market in the EU. And the question is their content that much better, like in the EU? Like, why are they succeeding in the EU? Is it an SEO thing? No, it actually turned out just because the competition is so much less that you can earn more of the market, even though the market is like an eighth the size. But if you own so much more of it, they own a few percentage points of the market here in the US, and they own 50% of the market in the EU. So even though the market is so much bigger in the US, it's so much harder to gain a market share. Your cost per click is so much higher. Your margin is so much smaller because of that. To maintain your keyword ranks, you have to be spending more on ads, and it costs you more to do that here. So you can't make the profit that you can over there. So it's easier to rank. It's easier to pull that lever. It's cheaper to pull that lever and to maintain those ranks. And so you can own more of the market. And I never thought of it that way. It was such an eye opener for me, which is like, I just translated it 1-to-1. I just thought to myself, well, the market is a tenth the size or a fifth the size or whatever it was, that if I go over there versus launching a new product. So it opened my eyes to an extent to where it's like, you know what? It doesn't translate as 1-to-1. I can own more of the market because there's less competition, and it'll be cheaper to own more of that market versus here. So my margin will be better. Yeah, maybe EU is a marketplace we should actually launch into versus just launching more products into .com, especially since we've launched so many and developed so many products. It'll be easy for us to cherry pick the best of the best.